This podcast is not a substitute for professional medical advice or mental health care. Please seek help from a trusted counselor or call or text 988 if you are in crisis.
Welcome to All Start, where we share our story, listen with compassion, and connect through our faith and mental health experiences. Following the story, Morgan and I will offer insights that connect faith and mental health. We invite you to practice listening and understanding during this episode, so that when someone shares their story with you in real time, you'll be ready. So take a deep breath, settle in, and let's start this journey together.
My name is Adam, and I'll start. I want to share my personal story because for a long time, I thought I had to keep these parts of me hidden. I thought I was crazy, or at least I was alone, and that people wouldn't understand if I was too honest. But if I'm honest, my biggest fear still is that people will think differently of me after they hear it. And then if I keep those things hidden, I can actually control how people see me. I think I've tried to build masks in my life, and I've always tried to build a mask and put on a mask of like perfection and success and control. I think I even felt that as a kid, and I think I really felt this after the season of life after college, where I was just so fearful that people would see the real me. Like if people knew me the way that I know me, like they wouldn't love me. And like if people knew the kinds of things that I thought about in my head, or the things I thought of myself, they wouldn't like me. Or if people knew how messed up I thought I was, or how broken I thought I was, they, let alone, wouldn't want to be my friend, you know? And that drove me then to so much more anxiety and shame, feeling like I needed to put on these masks to people so that I would be loved, or so that I would be liked, or so that they wouldn't think I was as crazy as I maybe thought I was, even though I was scared to admit that that might be true. So much of how that plays into has been amplified in recent years because of my role as pastor. Because when you're in the public eye, those feelings of shame and anxiousness and worrying about your past resurfacing itself is like the imposter syndrome, but also just like the cancel culture. And I mean, the darkest parts of me are very directly related to my employment status and how people view their pastor. And there's just like a weight and a pressure of being a spiritual leader that we're supposed to have. That's God-given, but that's also culturally reinforced sometimes. So like I'm happily taking on that mantle of responsibility, but then there's also like the cultural pressure side of it and the social pressure side of it. That's like, man, I know that I have a past, and should people listen to what I have to say? And I want people to see the best version of me, or at least what I think the best version of me is. But that weight is one that I can't carry because I don't think any of us are meant to carry. I never thought mental health struggles would be a part of my story, but looking back, the signs were there from an early age. I remember being 10 or maybe 11 years old. I was in 5th grade. And I was in classrooms, and I still remember so clearly. Remember those old wooden desks, and like the top lifts up and you can put all your whatever we put in there. And I had long legs, so my knees barely fit under those things. And I remember so clearly sitting there, and we were taking a test, and the room was silent. Like you can, hear the pencils scratching on the paper as people are taking tests. And like suddenly, overwhelmingly, inside of my head, it was like sirens were going off, like trumpets were blaring. Like I felt my body was tight, and I literally felt like my head was gonna explode. Like I thought I was in the moment, everyone's gonna watch me die. I remember trying to look at the test because I'm trying to focus, and I couldn't even read the words on the page because there was so much going on in my head. And I remember looking around the room, like kind of panicked because I was wondering if everyone else was hearing the things that I'm hearing. But of course they couldn't. No one even seemed to notice. I'm like, does anyone see me freaking out right now? Like, is it so obvious what I'm feeling inside of me right now? And eventually it would start to like subside, and I would kind of go on as normal. And I never told anyone. Either I was going crazy or I was dying of like a tumor or something. And either way, I was scared to tell people about it. I mean, I remember so clearly. I remember sitting as a kid, every time my parents would leave, I was at the window and I'd be crying, and I had siblings, and they didn't seem to respond the way I did. And I wasn't crying just because my parents were leaving. Like, it wasn't separation. Rather, I remember feeling convinced that they were going to die while they were gone. And I remember having like this overwhelming feeling that like I had to watch them leave. Like I had to watch them go down the driveway and watch the car drive away, because I'd regret not watching the last time I ever saw them. And even as I say it, it sounds irrational, but I just remember being always consumed with something terrible going to happen. But I remember never telling anyone. And I remember thinking no one else is talking about this. So either everyone feels the things I do, but we're not supposed to talk about this kind of stuff, or something's wrong with me and I'm the only one that's feeling these kinds of things. So either way, I didn't think I was allowed to talk about it. And kind of another layer of my story came right after college. And I had made some hurtful choices. They were selfish decisions that hurt people I cared about. And I didn't mean to hurt people. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. To be honest, at the time, I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. Yet I still ended up hurting people and had to come to like terms with that. I even wanted to use words like mistakes, but that feels like it's underplaying what it was. Like I was making choices, and some of the other side of those choices is the pain and shame that season then followed me for years. And I just wanted to run away. And I've wanted to run away many times because of all that. I many times just wanted to move 10,000 miles away where no one knew me. I wanted to just pick up my life, change my name, and start all over again. Thankfully, there were some people in my life then, and that came after college, and there were some mentors in my life that encouraged me to talk to someone about this. They encouraged me to get counseling. So for over a year, I began unpacking these fears and insecurities I had, even going back to some of those childhood things that I never noticed before. And I learned that I struggle with this thing called pride that I had to start to address. Counseling started giving me a new perspective on my life. It started giving me a new hope, I guess, for moving forward, or a new way of viewing myself, and how I'd been shaped so long and didn't notice I was being shaped for so long. But even still, I would say the real breaking point for me came when my wife and I found out we were pregnant for the first time. And I remember that first sonogram, right? It brings so much joy that you've never felt before. And we couldn't wait to tell people that we cared about. We couldn't wait to tell friends, and we couldn't wait to tell family. And so we did. We told some of our closest friends, told our family. And it was just a few days after that we finally got the news that there was no more heartbeat and that we'd had a miscarriage. Something broke in me that day. And I think it was something that I had patched like with Band-Aids, like had held together with Scotch tape for a long time, but had like cracks in it for years, And that was like the shattering point. I think what broke, the first thing was like, there's that heartbreak that you don't know how to explain. Like your heart hurts and your body hurts in a way that you don't really have language for. So that was what was first. It was like sadness and grief that I'd never felt before and never allowed myself to really feel before in other ways. But then what also broke in me was this illusion that I'd held on to for so long. Like, not only do I put on masks for other people, but I'd even been masked to myself with this illusion that I can do anything about the stuff like that. I actually have any control, that I can actually control how people perceive me. I think for so long, I thought that if I played the game of life right, I would get the outcomes I wanted. And it was just that moment that said, I'm actually not in control at all. And this thing that then became the thing we wanted more than anything could be taken away from us just as quickly as it was given to us. And I was just a person that had to just receive, whether it was the good side of it or the bad side of it, and I really couldn't change it. And there's something in me that just thought I've been living under this facade of control, and I've been living under this illusion of power, or this illusion of at the steering wheel of my life that wasn't completely true. Because I'm responsible for my choices, and I was responsible for my decisions. But I'm not the God of the universe. And I have no power over breath or life or death or outcomes of tomorrow. And that was, I think, that one of those layers of pride in me that had taken such a deep seat in how I viewed the world that I didn't know was there. And as painful as it was, on the other side of it, God was also graciously, unsurfacing and unearthing those things in me that were jading the way I viewed the world. And were also then barriers between my relationship with him. Hearing, my wife say things like, all I've ever wanted to be is a mom. It's like, that breaks you in a way that you don't know what to do with that. It's like, when I said yes to marrying you, I thought I was saying yes to giving you the life that I could give you. And I can't give you a child, though. I can't control that. And that's like, there's an anger in there. And I think that's some of the anger towards God is like, man, God, I can't even be the husband that I think I'm supposed to be because I can't do this. I can't give her everything she's ever wanted. And the one thing she says she's wanted more than anything, I'm incapable of doing. And I can't fix that heartbreak, So I'm processing my own heartbreak and grief while watching this woman that I'm supposed to help protect and take care of. And I'm like, I can't even fix myself or put myself together. How am I supposed to be there for you? And so I felt selfish in that way too, I'm only thinking about me. I'm not even caring about you right now. I'm only caring about me. And I felt so selfish in that moment, and I remember for the first several days, not leaving the couch at all. And that led to months and nearly a year actually of just spiraling for me personally. Anxiety took over my life at that point, panic attacks, the things that I'd felt as a child but didn't really know what they were. Panic attacks started being daily for me. I couldn't think straight. I couldn't really be around people. I'm a person who previously had been so extroverted, and now I wanted nothing more than just to be alone. I didn't really have strength to pretend that I was okay. So being around people was the last thing I wanted to do. I didn't have the capacity to hold myself together I had maybe tried to do for so long. I didn't have the ability to put on masks anymore. But I still wanted to control how I was perceived by people. Yet I was broken more than I had been before. So even my wife, she would come home and she'd find me in the shower, just in this dark bathroom for a long time. I'm just lights off in the bathroom, 45 minutes to an hour, wasting all the hot water, just trying to escape. I just wanted to make the world stand still. I never thought about ending my life or hurting myself, but I was convinced that if I kept spiraling, that's where it was headed. It felt like this long, dark tunnel that I was going down had no light at the end of it. And that was a scary thing. That scared me. And it's weird to be scared of yourself in that way. It's weird to be scared of your own thoughts. I never thought I'd say that the scariest place in the world for me is being left alone to my own thoughts. So all I wanted to do was escape from myself or escape from my own thoughts. And whether that was in the dark bathroom or whether that was by turning to substances or alcohol, which was so often a tendency for me, anything was better than what I felt inside. I was chasing momentary escape from my thoughts, and that was scary. And it started to scare my family and my wife too. Thankfully, she and a few others urged me to get help and to talk to someone again. So I went back to counseling. And for the first time though, unlike the last time I went to counseling, for the first time I actually admitted, this is part of my story now. And my counselor, she helped me put language around it that I never had before. And she's the one that gave me language like anxiety and panic and even obsessive compulsive behaviors and naming these things from my childhood that I didn't know what to do with. As soon as I began to name it, I began to see the light again. So instead of being consumed with all the what ifs that were going on in my head, I started being able to hold on to truth and what is real rather than what was happening or what I was thinking in my head. So these counselors and spiritual mentors and years of some slow work by God's grace helped me to see that I wasn't crazy, that I wasn't alone, that I wasn't beyond hope. And the deeper truth that I came to learn was that my mental health journey was also directly tied to my spiritual health journey. That for longer than I realized, I was angry at God. Why didn't he stop me from making bad choices? I didn't think I was doing things wrong, or I thought I knew better than I actually did. Why didn't he give me more clarity, or why didn't he give me more wisdom? Why didn't he prevent me from doing things that would cause harm to me or hurt others? Why would he allow a miscarriage? Why wouldn't he heal me sooner or take me out of those dark places sooner? And I learned that I will never be fully healthy if there are parts of me that I keep hidden, especially if there are parts of me that I keep hidden even from God. But when I finally let God into those dark corners of who I am, I discovered something I didn't expect. I discovered that God even loves those parts of me. Not the sin. He doesn't love my brokenness, but he loves me, like all of me. And that changed how I thought of myself. It changed how I thought of my relationship to God. Because now every time I risk sharing my story, when I risk sharing those parts of me that I'm tempted to hide, I find freedom. I find grace. I find that other people aren't repelled by me. Other people aren't disgusted. They don't think less of me. They actually can relate. When something comes into the light, that's where God does his healing work. And now, several years later, God has been gracious, and he's given my wife and I 3 beautiful children. God has healed parts of me that I didn't know needed to be healed. And although I feel at a very different place in my story than I did some years ago, I still find myself struggling. I still find myself struggling with different expressions of anxiousness and different expressions of shame. I mean, there's still days, even today, right, when I feel convinced that my past defines me. Days when shame wants to drive me back into some dark corner. There are still days when I want to run away, just escape, whatever that means. There are days when I want to hide because I don't want others to think of me the way I think of myself. Whether they view my personality or whether they view my body, like these body insecurities about my physical appearance come up. There are days when I'm consumed with anxious thoughts about my kids or others, picturing worst possible scenarios. But now, unlike years ago, I have tools. I have habits that help me when those moments come, things that I've learned along this journey. I've learned that counseling has been such a gift. Finding a counselor who not only understands mental health but also loves Jesus has been life-changing for me. I've even said counseling saved my life in a lot of ways. I've also found spiritual mentors have been such a gift in my life. People that are mature in their faith, who speak truth when my mind wants to speak lies. People who counter the shame and fears with God's truth. People who know every part of me but see me as lovable. I've learned to fight lies with God's truth, with God's word. And really for me though, the most powerful rhythm by far in my life has been the rhythm of silence and solitude. That for years, the scariest place for me was being left alone with my unfiltered thoughts. But now I step into those moments not to give space to those dark thoughts, but to sit before God, unguarded, unfiltered, no masks, to say, "Here I am, Lord. Here are my fears. Here's my shame. Here's my brokenness. Here's all of me." And it's in that space that God meets me. So for those that are listening, I hope you know you're not crazy. You are not alone. If you also find yourselves struggling with shame, if you also find yourselves anxious and insecure and feeling like one of the scariest places for you are your own thoughts, you're not the only one. There is help that can be found, and there is healing that can be found. And I hope for you too, you'll experience that there is healing when we trust that even in our darkest places, God is there. And that sometimes in those darkest places, that is where God meets us and helps us see ourselves in a different way. And that your past is not what defines you. Your struggles are not what defines you. The brokenness that you feel is not what defines you. But sometimes we have to get to the end of ourself to be able to hear who he says that we are. He says that you are loved. He says that you were created on purpose. He says that you are worth everything to him. And he wants you to find your way back to him. He wants to walk with you along the way, and healing is possible. So I'll start, and I hope you'll follow.
Welcome to the All Start Post-Story Discussion. I'm Morgan Arsenault, your co-host and seminary graduate, and I'm here alongside Heather Kalopek. She's a licensed clinical social worker. She's a dear friend of mine, and together we are dedicated to breaking stigma, building community, and reminding you that you are not alone.
Hi, friends. Thanks so much for being here. And following each episode, this is the part where Morgan and I unpack the story that we've just heard. We'll dig a little deeper into both the mental health and faith components, as well as offer some practical next steps. Oh man, so let's dig in. Our discussion today, it could go in so many different directions. Adam's story covers anxiety, shame, depression. There were so many different experiences listed there, but I think the moment that we're going to focus on today and what stood out to me the most was when he talked about the miscarriage that he and his wife experienced. And here's why, because for years he had lived braced for that kind of pain to happen, right? Just all the what ifs. And he never shared it with anyone. And when he then finally experiences loss, like a miscarriage, as an adult, you see that his body and his mind, they did exactly what they had been practicing for years. And that is trying to hold it all together while falling apart inside. I deeply understand that kind of grief and identified with it because my husband and I, we have also experienced and walked through 2 miscarriages in our marriage and our story. And there is nothing about those moments that make any sense. And I remember kind of what he described as just feeling frozen and just hidden from everyone. It's this silent, private grief. And I remember searching for answers, much like Adam did. It's just such a normal reaction because that is what grief can do. It exposes these cracks in our foundation, in our psyche, that we didn't know were there. And for Adam, it also revealed another piece or layer to the weight of being a pastor when you're the one that's asking why and grappling with that tension. Why did this happen? Why didn't God stop it? Why can't I hold this all together? And I just want to say, if you have ever asked those questions too, please hear this, that asking why is normal. It's not a sign that you have a weak faith or that you're a weak human. It is what we do as people, as humans, when the world stops making sense. And it's trying to find meaning in what we've experienced.
Normalizing the why, I think, is so important. And another aspect that connects Adam's story really to the ones that we've already heard this season is that deep desire to escape. Dustin tried to escape his pain through alcohol and drugs, Hannah through control and compulsions, and Adam by imagining what it would be like to disappear, to move 10,000 miles away and start over where nobody knew him, to even just finding a place to hide in a dark bathroom.
It's so normal to, even just in the day-to-day hard to want to escape sometimes. And then in moments like this, when it is the worst grief, it makes sense that, of course, we'd want to escape. And so I just I tell that just because, wanting or longing to get away isn't weakness. It's our nervous system saying to us, this hurts more than I can handle. This is more than I can hold. But I think that's why community and counseling and faith matters so much because pain loses its power when it's spoken out loud instead of carried alone. It's a moment where someone else can help you carry what you're trying to run away from. Mm-hmm. And I think when you can get to a point in your grief where the weight starts to lift just enough to breathe again, that's when a gentle shift can begin from, instead of asking those questions of why, toward wondering, what now? It's a huge moment in progress or transitioning in your grief where you can move from the why to the what. Mm-hmm. And it's not about forcing purpose or, finding it, answers. It's about finding the next honest step forward. It's a way of slowly moving from why did this happen to me to what do I need? What can I do with what I've been through?
And that is a shift that definitely takes time. It is day by day. It can be moment by moment. We cannot rush the what because we can't force healing, especially out of a wound that's still bleeding. And God is patient, He is kind, and He is not waiting for us to get to this point of asking what before He starts His work. He is always at work. He is always with us. But I think you're right. Over time, what you're talking about becomes important because we don't want to get stuck in the why, but we may not know how to move forward. And that's where the what question is key because it is a next step. It doesn't explain why things happen, but it gives us a way to go. It does start to answer what now? What kind of compassion might be forming in me? What could this pain allow me to understand in someone else? And it reminds me, we've read this before, but 2 Corinthians 1, 3, and 4, Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of mercies and God of all comfort, who comforts us in our affliction so that we may be able to comfort those who are in any affliction with the comfort with which we ourselves are comforted by God. And I think Adam's story captures that beautifully. He moved from, God, why didn't you stop this, to, okay, God, what are you showing me about control and pride and the parts of my heart that I've been hiding? And then eventually to, what can I do with this story so that other people don't feel as alone as I did?
Yeah, it's such a good point because I think what we're talking about here is the timing. The timing matters. Healing doesn't follow these neat stages. We've all heard the 5 stages of grief, right? So, but grief is messy and circular. And in counseling, we talk about this a lot. It's something called the dual process model when going through grief. And it's the idea that people move naturally back and forth between facing their pain. That's this loss-oriented coping, where we're focusing on the pain, we're focusing on the loss. And then shifting back or forward to rebuilding life. And that is called restoration-oriented coping. And that back and forth is healthy. And so for people like Adam or men in general, grief, especially after something like a miscarriage, can also be what we call disenfranchised grief. It's grief that doesn't always get recognized because the loss wasn't visible in his body. People may not have known how deeply he was hurting. And what's powerful is that once Adam could finally name it, once he said in counseling, this is a part of my story, he opened the door to meaning.
Yes.
Meaning doesn't erase the pain, but it gives the pain somewhere to go. The facts didn't change. He and his wife still lost their baby, but the story behind those facts began to change. Our brains actually calm down when pain starts to have meaning, even if that meaning is unfinished.
That unfinished meaning, man, there are things in my life that I still do not understand and maybe never will. And it's so difficult to not know the why, especially when we feel like that answer could relieve the ache of the grief or just help us move forward. And we can really spiral when we continuously seek answers to questions we may never know the answers to.
I was thinking about what we were talking about earlier is we think that if we just had the answer to the why, then that would be the missing piece and we wouldn't be grieving, that it would somehow make us feel better. And the thing is, grief sucks.
Yeah.
Whether we know the why or not.
And I think part of the weight that we carry with grief is that it was not meant to be this way. Suffering was not a part of God's original creation. But we do know also that in the midst of our suffering and our brokenness, that God can work for good. And there's a difference between saying, God caused this to teach me a lesson, and God, in this world that is broken and painful, what are you doing in me now? Because he is above all things and he is near to the brokenhearted and he does not waste our pain. And so I think sometimes the what, right? The what that comes out of the suffering can be big and clear, like Adam using his story to help others. But other times I think it's more quiet and it's more simple. Like, what do I need today? What is one honest thing that I can say to God right now? And what does being faithful look like in this hour?
Yeah, sometimes we want it to be this big moment of, oh, I know what to do with this. But sometimes it is just in those small little moments of, what can I do today? Mm-hmm. And so if you're listening and you want to try this for yourself, here's a simple practice. Write down your raw why questions and don't filter them out. God can handle all the whys and all the anger and questions that we have. He's big enough. He's a very big God with broad shoulders. And so write down those questions. Get them out. And then when you're ready, gently add one what beside each one. What do I need right now? What small step toward help can I take? What truth about me or about God can I hold on to even if I don't fully feel it yet? You don't have to jump to the why you don't have to jump from why to life purpose all in one moment, right? Sometimes it's just the first what to get us started. Even what friend could I text right now?
That's such a kind way to put it, the one small step at a time. If Adam's story has stirred up some of your own why questions, know this, that God is not afraid of them. He hears them, he holds them, and in his time, he can lead you towards those gentle what now moments. Not to erase your pain, but to meet you in it and maybe help someone else through theirs, because God does not waste your pain. You are not alone, and your story, like Adam's, is still unfolding.
We are so grateful that you were a part of that unfolding with us. Thank you for listening, and we hope you'll join us next time on another episode of I'll Start.